I'm Cerys Matthews and this is one of Europe's largest cultural festivals. It's the National Eisteddfod of Wales. It's a week filled full of poetry and music and just about any other cultural activity you can think of. For thousands of people in Wales, the first week of August is the most important week of the year. From every corner of the country and beyond, people arrive at the Eisteddfod to enjoy a week unlike any other.
Well, I'm actually a singer, so I compete here since I was under 12 every year.
It's a tradition. We've been coming here for years.
I just like meeting everyone, seeing all my friends.
Going to see people singing.
If you speak Welsh, if you're learning Welsh, if you don't speak Welsh at all, there's plenty of welcome for everybody here.
But for some, there's a serious point to all this too. In the big pink pavilion and on other stages around the site, there's a whole week of competitions lined up. Dancers, singers, brass band members, everyone's put in hours and hours of practice, and there's no doubt that winning is the aim.
No, came second last year, unfortunately.
We came first the year before.
Yeah. Looking to change that this year.
I'm a bit excited and a bit nervous.
I'm quite nervous because there's some difficult parts, and if I mess them up, then they'll know it's me.
There will be winners and losers, and a prestigious chair and crown to be won by the nation's best poets. For these competitors, the Eisteddfod is the culmination of a whole year's effort. It's like an Olympics of the arts. This year, the festival is in the Vale of Glamorgan, just to the west of Cardiff. It's one of the wealthiest parts of Wales, with 14 miles of heritage coastline, rolling farmland and well-to-do market towns, and of course, Barry Island. My first 24-hour experience of the National Eisteddfod was in a field like this. And for many teenagers, this will be their home during the week. Bands play here at night and guitars come out. In fact, I count my first proper guitar playing public appearance as from my tent here in Maesby. Catatonia was formed soon after. This is one of those Eisteddfod performances from the early days of the band. It's hard to believe that's 20 years ago, but I was as interested then as I am now in the history of music and literature, and the Eisteddfod is steeped in both. So let me introduce you to one of those traditions. It's called Cerdd Dant, and it's a completely unique form of music. The Cerdd Dant competition is one of the big features of the Eisteddfod, and one of my oldest friends, Eleanor Bennett, knows all about it. Well, Eleanor, we have known each other a long time. I'm very happy to be here to ask you now, what is Cerdd Dant?
Well, Cerdd Dant is a uniquely Welsh form of singing. It involves a melody being played on the harp, quite uninterrupted, as a solo almost.
Yeah.
And then the singer will sing verses which will fit into this original melody and use a counter melody which must fit with this original melody, of course, and sound okay.
So, Eleanor plays the traditional melody Ashgrove and sings her own melody against it.
Nico anwl di drostai neges fach I Gymru lan. Hed neu steid I wlad o frynia sydd ar môr yn cuddiaeth rad. Lle mae'r haf yn aros hira, lle mae'r awel iach mor ffri, lle mae'r môr ar nefoedd lasa, gwlad y galon dyma hi.
Diolch, Eleanor.
Just an excellent.
I love the words in that song saying the summer's last longer here in Wales.
And the sky
and the sea is bluer and the sky is the bluest.
That's poetry for you.
In this Eisteddfod, they're using the theme from Schindler's List as the established air for the Cerdd Dant competition.
Wow, well, that is a pretty sad and very beautiful tune, isn't it?
Yes,
I look forward to that.
I think it's in D minor.
Do you want to hear a little? What's the mood of the music? So the words must be very sad music.
Very sad. Minor.
And that's very much the character of the Welsh
They
people.
love the minor chords.
We
in
love
Celtic.
the minor chords. And you know, even the major songs sound minor in Welsh.
Yes. And here is one of the groups who wove their own melody against the Schindler's List theme. Now the Eisteddfod has many ancient traditions. The stone circle, the Druids, and their robes, but in fact they are not as ancient as you might think. They were all the brainchild of one man called Iolo Morgannwg. He was born here in the village of Flemingston, just a few miles from where the Eisteddfod is being held this year, and he was quite a character. In the church where Iolo Morgannwg is said to be buried,
But here it is, the memorial.
I met up with historian John Davis to try to untangle the fact from the fiction. So John, the Druids and the ceremonies are not as old as we think, though, are they?
Well, they're over 200 years old, which as traditions go is pretty old, I'd say. It was a case, I think, of the invention of tradition, and the man who did invent it was Iolo Morgannwg, Edward Williams, which he turned out Iolo Morgannwg of Glamorgan.
Which is where we are
We
right
are
today.
in Flemingston, where he lived for most of his life.
So what did he bring to the Eisteddfod specifically?
Well, he brought the idea of the circle of the bards, which he said went right back to the Druids, predated the Romans, predated Christianity. He was a Unitarian. And he sort of latched it on to the Eisteddfod in the late 1820s. And, of course, the standing stones, the circle of the Gorsedd. And he came from Glamorgan, well, the Vale of Glamorgan, which he called the Paradise of Britain, by the way.
And lots of stone circles.
Lots of stone circles
in the
and
area.
cromlechie and that sort of thing. So he was inspired by the idea of stones standing up.
Didn't he dream up all this imagery?
Well, he did dream up. He had a very powerful imagination, which may, some people suggest, arise from the fact that he was taking opium.
Wasn't there a prescription found?
There was a little note from a chemist in Cowbridge saying, enclosed are 30 grains of pure opium, not all to be taken at once. And when I asked the doctor if you took 30 grains of pure opium, what would happen? You would explode, he said.
For many, the highlights of the Eisteddfod are closely associated with Iolo's Druids, and you can see them on stage to announce the major prizes. But the tradition of performing poetry at an Eisteddfod goes back a long way before that.
Gwaedd uwch a dwaedd a oes heddwch.
This prize ceremony is for the chair, awarded for a poem written in a unique alliterative metre known as Cynghanedd.
A geleni disgwyl wynedd.
This is poet and musician Tom Morris, and he's proudly continuing the folk tradition where Cynghanedd has its roots.
Dir I Gymru rag drwg am raint.
Even if you don't understand the words, there's an addictive rhythm and sound which is ancient and modern at the same time.
A galw arnon.
A galw arnon.
This kind of rhythmic beating and reciting, that's like hip-hop or something. It's an early form of rap.
It is. Well, it's the same principle. It's reciting words with a beat, isn't it? A regular beat. Gwir aflonydd, gwair fel ynys. Gwedir ymwrdd, gwaed ar emrys. A brawd yrys.
A brawd yrys.
Define Cynghanedd for me.
What is life, Gyrys? Define Cynghanedd.
In a nutshell.
It is a sound system, which is actually independent of any language. I could say, Gabraccric, Hic, a Hwci. And it's a correct Cynghanedd, but I don't know if anybody speaks that language anywhere. Maybe on some distant planet.
But essentially, it's inner rhyming
It's inner rhyming and alliteration
at the same time.
at the same time, and various, thousands of different things, yeah.
Different patterns of the inner rhymes.
Yeah, a sound system.
Like that.
Yeah, it's like Celtic patterns on the crosses, those old crosses, interweaving patterns.
Can you write poetry in different languages using the Cynghanedd rules?
It can be done.
Can you?
My first love was a plover. Yeah, beautiful things her wings were, tiny eyes shining at night, though mainly in the moonlight. We ate cakes by a lakeside. I caressed her crest and cried all night. Then the kites called, unshaven and dishevelled, he saw from the bristling sedge my playmate's handsome plumage. She made a tryst, kissed the kite so dearly in the starlight. I thought of only one thing, my plover, lover, leaving. So it can be done.
That's brilliant, tremendous stuff. For Welsh poets, composing is a craft you work hard at, honing a line to perfection rather than hanging around waiting for inspiration.
Why?
No one knows that better than Gwyneth Lewis, the national poet of Wales. It's her words that have been set in stone on the front of the Wales Millennium Centre. This week she won the ultimate accolade, the Eisteddfod Crown, for a poem with a theme of islands, and she's just adapted Shakespeare's The Tempest into Welsh. It's being performed here as part of the World Shakespeare Festival. So what challenges did she face when translating Shakespeare into the Welsh language?
Well, aside from the issue of Shakespeare, could be daunting, the main thing is that the rhythms in poetry in English and Welsh are completely different. And Shakespeare drops naturally into this 5-beat line. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is better and so on and so forth. Whereas in Welsh, in poetry, we count syllables. And even if we were to count accents, the structure of the language puts the accent on a different part of the word, on the last but one syllable. So in English, you're going titam, and in Welsh, you're going tum-ti. So I had to be a bit cunning about how to kind of cheat the Shakespearean sound.
Diolch i'r neb amdano. A nawr os gwelwch yn dda, syr, gan i fod yn pwyso fy meddwl eich rheswm am godi storm y môr.
Kai Owen is relishing the prospect of playing Shakespeare in Welsh.
Gwyneth Lewis has done a marvellous job of still keeping the richness, still keeping the rhythm of it, still keeping the heart of the story, and still keeping the beautiful language of Shakespeare alive, basically. The poetry of the Welsh language fits superbly to the poetry of Shakespeare. So it's a match made in heaven, in my opinion.
Every night in the Pink Pavilion there are concerts and competitions going on, and one of those concerts this year is a musical setting of a poem famous not here in Wales but in Hungary. The poem, which is as well known as the national anthem in Hungary, is called The Bards of Wales. It's been set to music by acclaimed Welsh composer Carl Jenkins.
It started when this Hungarian, called László Irini, approached me and told me about this poem that I'd not heard of, and everyone I've spoken to since, Welsh people, have also not heard of it. It's called The Welsh Bards, The Bards of Wales. It's an analogy, really, written by a Hungarian poet. It tells of the dominance of a large country over its smaller neighbour. For censorship reasons, he couldn't write the poem in Hungarian, so he said it in Wales, where King Edward comes to North Wales and beheads bards.
work was commissioned by Laszlo Irini, and he told me about the significance of the poem to Hungarian people.
For us, this is a story that speaks very high of the Welsh about their courage. Something we Hungarians also needed many times throughout our turbulent history.
With Russia?
Oh well, with the Turks, with the Ottoman Empire, with the Austrians, with the Habsburgs, and then with the Germans, and then with the Soviets. So throughout history, Hungary has gone through many times when this sort of courage the poem tells about was very badly needed. And the poem has been recited very often in times of need, in times of oppression.
This work has already been performed in Hungarian and English, and this concert was its Welsh language premiere. On the stage 2 this week, we saw Clogshaw, clog dancing, and Tudur Phillips has seen a big increase in its popularity.
So it's changed quite a fair bit, is it?
Yeah, basically now there's loads of group around Wales coming in, loads of young kids coming in and doing the tricks and steps that I was struggling to do later on, so fair play, yeah.
So you're going to teach me a few basic steps if you're just starting out?
Well, first of all, I'll try something called pitter-patter. It's called pitter-patter because it sounds like pitter-patter, pitter-patter.
Yes.
So basically, you put one front and then back, and then left, front, and then sort of jog. Hey? You've got it.
Is that it?
Spot on. You'll be on the stage next year now.
You've mentioned the tricks.
Yeah.
And I know the really famous one is the one with the broom, when the lad jumps over the broom.
Yeah, that's the hardest one, but a bit easier. You can use this. I call it a mackin.
It's a handkerchief.
Yeah, basically.
I'm going to stand back now.
And just jump over it.
All right, let's have a go.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Do you want to try?
No, thank you. I did try it later, but let's leave it to 15-year-old Tristan Griffith. And this is the winning performance in the boys' solo dance. And hand in hand with clog dancing, an instrument which is also becoming popular, the triple harp. This is 13-year-old Math Roberts, and I caught up with his dad David in the family caravan to find out more about this historic instrument. So tell me, David, what makes this different to the single row harp?
Well, it's a triple harp, and it's called triple because it has 3 rows of strings. The 2 outside rows you see here, they're like the white notes of the piano, really. So
they're like a reflection of each other?
Yes, yeah, they're both outside rows tuned the same.
Yeah.
And then the middle row, like your black notes on the piano, so they're the chromatics.
I've noticed you're playing on the left shoulder. Why is that?
I'm playing on the left shoulder, yes. I'm not left-handed. That's the way I was taught. And so you use the right hand, which is the strong hand, for the big bass strings.
Yeah.
And then you use the left hand for the melody, which is the hand closest to the heart for the melody.
Can I have a go then?
Yeah, sure.
Brilliant, thank you. I don't know where to start. So this will be the C.
The C's are red, the C's, yeah.
I can't do it. Okay.
That's the first, yeah?
Yeah.
So same again.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh gosh. So here's Dafydd showing how the triple harp should be played with one of Wales's leading folk bands, Ar Log, which in English means for hire. Music is everywhere at the festival, and just off the main drag is this, the Hay Bale Studio. And this is young band Arangen, recording an acoustic session in quite the best smelling studio I've ever been in, and their walls really are made of hay. On the main site there are performances by bands big and small most of the day. And a young musician who's just about grown up with the Eisteddfod is singer-songwriter Al Lewis. So was the Eisteddfod one of the first places you played?
It was, yeah. I mean, I remember when I was back in school, I was a member of a choir, and we were lucky enough to get to the main stage in the St David's Eisteddfod about 10 years ago now. And I just remember coming out on stage and just that sea of people. I'd never experienced anything like that. So it definitely, helped for when later on in my career I was getting to see bigger audiences, and you can look back on that and use that experience to help you.
And then you started out writing your own songs, playing the guitar, putting a band around yourself.
And that's the brilliant thing about the Eisteddfod as well, like we see today, they've got a stage for artists who write and sing their own material, and you've got an audience there ready-made wanting to listen to you, so it's perfect. Yeah.
Do you want to sing me a song today?
All right then.
In fact, please sing me a song.
It's called Treading Water. You might say, what difference do they make, these small little things? Well, truth be told, well, they weigh heavy on my shoulder, these small little things, these small little things. But all I know, maybe it's the wrong way to go. So are we simply treading water, was looking out for something better? And are we simply treading water when maybe what we need is a simple change of scene? I've spotted another familiar face out on the mice, although he usually sports a twisty moustache on that well-known TV advert. It's Wyn Evans.
So this year's been quite a big year for you, isn't it? In Welsh terms, you've been learning Welsh on the television. How's it been going?
It's been okay, actually. It's hard, much harder when you come to kind of later on in life, as it feels that I have. But something that I'm kind of persevere with this year. This is going to be the year to kind of crack it.
So last year was your first Eisteddfod, and you've come back this year. Not only are you a judge for a competition, but you're also going to be donning those robes. You're going to become a druid, aren't you?
I am, yeah. And it's something that's kind of fascinated me for many years, never really understood it. But yeah, it was decided that I would be accepted into the Gorsedd, which is the druid. And it's a huge honour, you know, it's something fantastic. So
Have you tried it on?
No, but I'm really worried that they kind of come in the wrong size for me. You know, I'm going to have Ronnie Corbett's druid's outfit. And it's going to be like that, yeah.
You look like a Cossack or something. But let's go back to the judging. What are you going to be looking for when you're judging the competition?
It's hard to be kind of that side of the table. I've been a pundit before, criticising other people's decisions, but never kind of doing the deciding. And it is hard because you're looking for different things. You're not just looking for where the voice is now. You're thinking where that voice could be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time.
So let's hear the top 2 competitors. This is Menna Cazel-Davies. And this is Ellen Pritchard. So did Wyn and his fellow judges choose the right winner?
Ellen Pritchard and Menna Cazel-Davies.
He hedged his bets, and the prize was shared between Ellen and Menna.
Carol!
Well, here we are at one of the week's traditional ceremonies, courtesy of Iolo Morgannwg and his opium-fuelled imagination. The induction of Welsh worthies into the Gorsedd is probably the nearest thing in Wales to getting an MBE. These days, people from all walks of life see it as an honour to be made a member of the Gorsedd. As well as poets and intellectuals, nowadays sports stars are just as likely to don the druid's robes. And there's Wyn, and it looks like they got his size right for the robes. I've had a great week here in the Vale of Glamorgan, witnessing the roots of Welsh culture, still alive and kicking at the Eisteddfod. Next year it's going to be in North Wales, so go check it out.